OpenAI, Google, DeepMind, and Anthropic sound alarm. We may be losing the ability to understand AI. Newsflash, you already lost it. From day one, you lost it. Scientists from OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Anthropic, and Meta have abandoned their fierce corporate rivalry to issue a joint warning about AI safety. More than 40 researchers across these competing companies published a research paper today arguing that a brief window to monitor AI reasoning could close forever and soon. And here is the research paper. You can see that the abstract itself is super short, and it's essentially what the article says. They talk about the chain of thought monitoring, which we've covered in depth in all of these scientific studies, and we will only continue to cover it. There are a number of issues with regards to keeping an eye on what's going on inside of these models. There's memory constraints, context constraints. There are things called destructive forgetting, which means that the AI system will come up with ways of adjusting its own weights and biases and kind of like removing the stuff that you would normally be able to monitor and just removing the ability to monitor it through its own destructive processes while still coming out to the same result that it did before. There's issues with deceptive practices, misalignment, bad data leakage from like training data, memorization of answers as opposed to reasoning. By the way, there is no reasoning, there's zero reasoning, etc., etc. And then they go into like how we can make these things more monitorable. However, the problem that this article brings out, and this is why I wanted to go over the article because it's a little bit easier to digest than going over the scientific paper, is they feel that there is a limit to how long they can continue keeping an eye on the very few things that they are currently able to keep an eye on. The paper drew endorsements from some of the field's most prominent figures, including Nobel Prize laureate Geoffrey Hinton, often called the godfather of AI. There's super safe intelligence people, who apparently are behind this, and so on and so forth. And as these things continue, the issue is that the divergence of LLM models, these models, to hide their own reasoning only gets more complicated. And on top of that, you add in all the things I talked about where, for example, we saw this before in the distillation. If you don't know what distillation is, it's when you get one instance of a model to talk to another instance of the same model, and they just pass numbers from the parent to the child, and those numbers then train the child model to understand how the parent model got to a certain conclusion. That means that there's something inherent inside of the black box that's currently not being able to be monitored, where just these numbers, which have no direct, like a human will look at that and go, what the hell does this have to do with anything? But they will have meaning to the models themselves. We've already covered the science behind this. It's been 1 to 2 years that this has been known to be a problem, and it's only increasing and escalating as we attempt to put more safeguards and different adjustments into trying to figure out how this works. And so essentially they're saying, as we continue down this road, well, we're going to lose our ability to keep an eye on anything. And so there's now this race for safety. Well, I'm sorry, bros. I'm sorry, but your ship it bro mentality on these LLMs has made it so that ship has sailed. There's no putting this back in the box, unfortunately. And as you continue down this road, you're going to find that as you attempt to put in more safeguards and you attempt to make more adjustments to try and continue to maintain your ability to monitor the system, you're actually going to be doing the exact opposite. This is the self-fulfilling prophecy right now. And then what happens is that they're worried that if they play their hand too much, their concern is like, well, we can't open it too much because if we do, then people will have this like crazy amount of access into the systems. Bros, you're missing the forest from the trees. So, anyways, this entire article just sums up the kind of like stupidity that goes on behind people who should otherwise be intelligent. They don't even understand what they're playing with. They don't understand the incompetence inside these systems. They're just the incapability of these systems to do the things that they think that it can do. And then they get scared about it because they didn't realize that it was going to go this way. How dumb do you have to be not to realize that it was going to end up here? And then you panic. And this is when things go bad. It's when they panic. When people start gathering together like this, and you have smart people with pedigrees getting together and going, oh my God, the world's going to end because we can't monitor this stuff, then they're going to start making even more stupid decisions about how to retain control over this thing. And it's just going to get worse.